We are live. Go ahead when you're ready.
Okay, the first thing is I'd like to a motion to suspend all council rules that require and contemplate in-person meetings or in-person voting.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, and our second order of business is just approval of the minutes.
Motion for approval.
Okay, and we have, okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Very good. Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so we have one piece of legislation before us. It's a new piece of legislation. I'll read it in. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into a joint funding agreement with the United States Department of the Interior for the operation and maintenance of flow measurement gauges and collection of stream flow data for the period October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2023. So we have Mr. Luddle here to elaborate on this a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Yes, some of you may remember about 3 years ago, we passed the same legislation. And what it pertains to is the measurement of flow, not only in our Ohio and Erie Canal, but also in the Cauga River. The one down in the valley at the corner of Merriman and Portage Path, that one there is in the Cauga River. And what we do is we have to supply funding for the maintenance of these gauges through to USGS. Part of our agreement about sending water below the Continental Divide and not bringing it back, they administer these flows and they allow more flow through Summit Lake, through Lock 1 right there by Children's Hospital to measure the flow. So we have an estimated flow of about 6 MGD a day we send south. And as you know, the Continental Divide pretty much goes right through Akron. There's parts of Fairlawn Heights, all the way through the southern part of Akron, a lot of Kenmore areas in the lower part of the Tusk watershed. So by doing this, when we're supplying water to those places, we are sending water to the lower part of the south part of the divide. And by them managing these locks and managing this flow, they're bringing back water to equalize what we send over. These gauges also, we leverage this when it comes to flooding. When we have these big storms, our employees down at WRF are always watching the levels in the river to monitor how high it is. And we're always looking when we de-water our basins, our CSO basins, we're always watching the level of the river. So that's what this funding's for. As you look in the UCR, it's split pretty much between water and sewer because both utilities leverage this. And with that, I will take any questions.
Okay, yeah. Do you want to explain what the NPDES permit is, Mr. Luddle?
Well, part of our permit is what I explained when we're sending water from one watershed to another, and we're equalizing that flow by bringing it back. So we're supplying water across the divide through our water mains, and then it's actually, some of it is treated at our plant, some of it goes down to the Tusk plant.
Okay, so this not only measures the quantity of water when you talk about flow, it also measures the quality. Is that correct?
No, it doesn't measure the quality, just the quantity. It's a quantity.
Okay. Yeah. All right, thanks for clearing that up. Any other questions from other members of the committee? If not, any questions from other members of council? Well, with that, Mr. Luddle, what is your preference?
If we could pass this, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. So, is there a motion to suspend the rules with approval from this committee?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. And is there a second? Okay. So, and all in favor, please say nay or yes. Aye. I mean, A or yes. Okay. All right. Anybody opposed? Okay, with that, the motion passes. We have no other legislation before us. This was an ordinance that we'd passed before, so it's kind of an extension of it. Seems to have worked pretty well. So I'm pleased that we did this today. Thank you. With that, we'll conclude the committee.
Thank you. Our next committee meeting is Health and Social Services. Those committee members are Amobian, Freeman, Baylor, Neal, and Lombardo. And you can get started whenever you're ready, Councilwoman.
Okay. Everybody's present. Can you tell?
I see that Mr. Neal is here, but he has not connected to video.
Okay.
Mr. Neal, can you hear me?
He's muted, it looks like.
Excuse me, yes,
He'll
ma'am.
probably join
I'll
us. Let's
Thank
call
you.
the
be on shortly.
to order. Do we have to do the special request for meeting, or we're done with that, Sarah?
Yes, we'll still need to have a motion to suspend all council rules regarding in-person meeting and voting.
Okay. May I have that motion from someone, please?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second it. Yep.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have one item on our list. We have no past minutes, I don't think.
We do. Our last meeting was July 13th that we have
Okay.
minutes that we need approved.
So
Motion to
could I
approve.
have someone offer an approval for the minutes of July 13th?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there a second?
Aye.
It's been
Second.
moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It's been moved and
Aye.
seconded. All in favor? Okay.
Aye.
The minutes are, thank you. The minutes are approved. Okay, we have one item today. Is that correct, Sarah?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Ordinance approving the creation of the City of Akron's Racial Equity and Social Justice Task Force, charging the task force with developing a pro-equity agenda for the City of Akron to be outlined in a 5-year strategic plan, charging the task force with delivering the strategic plan to the mayor, city council, and greater Akron community by December 2021, and declaring an emergency. I understand that Bishop Johnson is on the call. So do we have the mayor or president council or Tamika
Councilwoman,
available?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilwoman Mobian, if we can, I don't know if Mayor wants to kick it off. I know Tamika Rose is online. So Mayor, I'll defer to you.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Councilwoman. I really want to thank, as Margot came to me with this idea months ago, or just back in June, I think we really want to do something thoughtful about how we look at the entire city of Akron, knowing that there's, a certain amount of things that we can control, but also on how we do things inside the city. And so I think it's taken a little while, but I'm extremely excited about the process. And I want to thank Bishop for agreeing to lead this effort. And I know many of you have been in this space for a lot longer than I, but I know we wanted to put together a team of people. And quite frankly, the list of people that could have been on this is in the hundreds, if not thousands. And we went through a significant number of people to be able to be on this, to really give a thoughtful effort to how we operate as a city. And so with this guy, I know this will probably be, if not, I think it'll be the most important public service work I do, period. And I hope to, at the end of the first year, there's a lot that I know I have to learn and that I hope the community has to learn also, but I'm happy to be leading those efforts and listening to all of those out there who have contacted us. And I know all of you in how we operate. So I appreciate the time. I ask for your support in this, and I'll turn it back over to Margot and we'll go from there. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Is Tamika on the call
Yes.
with us?
Yes.
Yes, I am on the call.
Okay, so Tamika, if you want to present and then maybe introduce Bishop.
Okay, so The Racial Equity and Social Justice Task Force, we created this out of the declaring racism as a public health crisis back in June. And with that, we thought that there should be not just the task force, but subcommittees as well to inform the work and the strategic plan that will be set forth and presented to you all in December of 2021. The reason that we've taken a timeline of this magnitude is so that we want to be thoughtful in this process. We don't want to just have recommendations come out. We actually want to have a budget with the recommendations that are set forth. And we actually thought that the best person to lead us through this was Bishop Joey Johnson. And you all should be aware that we did have a press release come out. So there will be 6 subcommittees, that is criminal justice, housing, public health, education, communications, and workforce and workforce. And so we have had a number of individuals reach out to us to sit on those subcommittees. And with this, the mayor thought that it would be beneficial to everyone, that we wanted to make sure that we compensated those individuals that desired compensation for sitting on this the subcommittees and or the task force going through this. We will also engage a consultant to assist us with developing, facilitating the meetings and developing the actual strategic plan set forth in the legislation. And I will turn it over to Bishop if he would like to say anything.
Good afternoon.
Hey,
Thank you for this. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm excited about the opportunity to lead a task force and effort to help the city of Akron set up some long-term infrastructure kinds of suggestions that we hope will change the very atmosphere and fiber of all that's going on in the city of Akron. So I'm excited about it. It's going to be quite a challenge to try to gather all of these various wonderful, interesting people and see what we can do with that. But I'm sure God will help me, and with everybody's help, we'll get something done. It's been 401 years of this kind of stuff. We don't hope to get it solved in any short period. We're trying to work some people in minutes and moments, but it's going to take months. And we hope to make a real impact for the future of the city of Akron. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And then Councilwoman Mobley, I just wanted to take an opportunity just to thank the mayor and his whole team, Tamika Rose, for all of her work on bringing us here thus far. I want to thank Bishop Joey Johnson for giving up his time and his talents to help us move forward and having these critical discussions, much needed conversations, and then just for all the community leaders who are willing to sit around the table and help us bring forth some real solutions to some of these issues and problems. So again, thank you, and I look forward to working with everyone on the task force.
Just have a couple of questions. I know that within the legislation, it talks about meetings on Tuesdays, the second Tuesday. Have we had any meetings yet, or do we just plan to kick this off at a certain time?
We have not had any meetings yet. We wanted to make sure that council approved the task force before we started to convene the meetings.
Okay. And the first meeting is scheduled or planned after this happens, or what?
Ma'am.
If the council approves this month, the first meeting will be in October.
I see. Okay.
And I might add,
Yeah.
I might add, we're not asking you to pass tonight. If you'd like to take a week's time, I think that it's certainly appropriate to look at that and kind of go from there. So it wasn't as an emergency. This is, I think, a significant piece of legislation that a lot of people had a hand in working on, specifically Ellen and Tamika, who've been leading this efforts, but especially Tamika, a lot of hard work. And I'm proud of that work that we've been able to do so far. So it's not an emergency. If you'd like to take a week, we certainly would understand.
Yeah, the art just.
Okay. Are there hands raised, Sarah, or committee members? Any questions from committee members?
I don't see anyone's hand raised.
Sarah,
Okay.
Councilwoman,
Any questions from, excuse me?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say one last thing I forgot to mention. If council members would like to be part of the subcommittees, please let me know so that we can add you to the particular subcommittee to be involved in the decision-making process. So if you just send me an email, then I can add you to that committee member list.
Councilman Neal, did I see your hand raised?
Okay. Thank you very much for
Yes,
that.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am, you do. I'm getting ready to switch over to another screen. Okay, thank you.
Did we lose you, Mr. Neal?
No, ma'am, I was turning off my other monitor.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I received some questions that people asked me basically to forward. One was, this is to address the report that we received from the Elevate Akron report that talked about the structural and systemic practices that have led to inequities within our community. And there was a concern that even this process was a part of a structural and practice within government that always leads to the same outcome. So several questions that I was asked. One was, how were the people selected? Who chose the people for the steering committee? What was the process?
I think what we tried to do as a group is put together a group of thoughtful leaders within the community that would, be able to add to this and bring real value to the task force. And so obviously there are some familiar names and maybe some names that people that don't know, but we tried to get as diverse a group as possible. And, when it comes to age, race, and sex, to be able to have like I said, a pretty thoughtful group. That being said, like I said, I think the list of people that could have been on there is in the hundreds, if not thousands, which would have been, I think, wholly unmanageable. But at some particular point, we needed to choose a group and kind of go from there. And so as Council President and I and Bishop discussed about various names, we settled on the ones that are on there, and that is the proposal that you have before you.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, I know most of the people on there, fine people, but again, what we want to get to is a process that's clear and transparent. And that was a challenge with people because this is for Akron. And, a lot of the folks that are on the list don't live in the city. And that was a concern that was brought to me. I don't know what other people heard. There was a concern that folks lived, worked in the city, lived here, since this is a plan for the city of Akron.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a valid complaint, but I would argue back that I think they still have a stake, and I don't think it diminishes their value to the task force just because they don't live in here. And like I said, I think it's a valid complaint. But as the mayor, I think we tried to put together as thoughtful and diverse a group as possible. And I'm certainly comfortable with the leadership of Bishop Johnson in leading this. Like I said, I think he's been in this for a long time when it comes to this. And I certainly will take the complaints that why wasn't somebody included or why was somebody. But I think at the end of the day, to have a group that was, not so big, still 30 is not small, but I think a lot of that work is going to be done in those subcommittees. And it is a transparent process, although some people may not feel like they were included in that. That doesn't mean they can't add value to it too. So I think it's all voices and kind of all hands on deck.
Well, Mr. Mayor, what the point I'm trying to make is that folks want to feel that there is a process in which they can participate. I think it would be good if you take a look at the list and look at how many folks actually live in the city that are on that list. I mean, I understand. I'm just sharing concerns that I heard from folks that came to me.
Okay.
And then the other thing is I want all of us to consider, and then I'll end my comments. We got this report over 3.5 years ago. Now, we declared racism a public health crisis, just like we did COVID-19. I want you to imagine if, as a city, we waited 3.5 years with COVID before we even started to develop a plan, and then said, you know what, 1.5 years later, we'll have a plan to address the issue. I believe it was last week during the public safety comment, one of my colleagues mentioned that the reason why we're evaluating our police force at this time is because they hold life and death in their hands. I want to challenge each member on council and administration. We hold life and death of this community in our hands with the way we legislate and pass legislation. So I appreciate that we're addressing this, but we learned about this issue, some of us, many of us have been speaking about this long before the report came out, 3.5 years ago. And now in 2021, leading into 2022, we're going to have a plan. So I hope that while the community is working on a plan for the administration and for the legislative body, that our council, as well as our administration, can move forward in taking the training so that we will understand how to adequately implement that plan. Because every day we're passing legislation using words like equity, inclusion, but yet we have not normalized that conversation amongst ourselves. So I thank you. I just want to express the concerns that colleagues and constituents have shared with me.
Councilman Neal, Mayor, I'm sorry. Councilman Neal, I
Sure,
just
go
want to
ahead.
address your questions. So first and foremost, members of the community still have an opportunity to join the subcommittees of the task force, and they can email socialjustice@akronohio.gov, and we will place them on the subcommittee that they desire to be on and have their voice be heard in that particular subcommittee. And secondly, this is not just to address the Elevate Akron. This addresses the entire health of the community, and that is why it is not only workforce development, it's also housing, public health, education, and we're going to have a communications piece to it too, to make sure that the community understands what's going on in a transparent way. So I appreciate the fact of saying that this is an Elevate Akron, but it dovetails into infant mortality, violence, and the work that you're doing with reimagining policing as well. This is a true comprehensive look at how we are trying to address racism in our community, because it's been over 400 years. And honestly, even given a year, we're not going to scratch the surface, but we are going to start making some changes.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Ms. Rose, I appreciate that, but I want to pivot to point something. You said racism. What I do not want us to do as a city is to be all inclusive. That report spoke specifically to the disparities of the Black community. Let's address that. So again, I appreciate what the city is doing. Bishop Johnson knows I have mad love and respect for him. So it's not about anybody on the committee. It's about how we do business. So this is the city's report. Members of the community understand that they have to put their own piece together, because there's a responsibility for a lot of this on the community as well. But if this is to deal with structural racism, that deals with the Black community specifically.
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
With that said, are there other members of the council who have questions or comments to make? Are there any hands raised, Sarah?
Councilman Malik.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank President Somerville, Mayor Horrigan, Bishop Johnson, Ms. Rose, and everyone who was part of putting this together. I know that one thing that we've seen, particularly over the last few months, but even before that, is that what this year and recent years have brought us is the importance of having difficult conversations. And I think this task force is a really important part of building a structure, an ongoing structure that will allow our community and our community's leaders to have difficult conversations about difficult issues. And having spoken with Bishop Johnson about this, I know, to Councilman Neal's point, lots of people in this community have been talking about these issues for decades and working on these issues for decades. We're not going to solve any of these issues overnight. We're not going to, snap our fingers. And even if any of us think we have the best ideas, but I appreciate putting in place a process. The reimagining public safety work that we're doing on council is a process. The community members are going through a process. The task force is a process. And so it's on all of us, each of us as individuals to really support that the way we can, raise our voices. And so I appreciate what's being done today.
Okay. Are there other council members who would like to make a comment? Hearing none, may I have a motion to, I think the mayor has made a good suggestion that we put it on the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, this is a special meeting, so consent agenda is not recommended at this point, but you could take time.
Oh, we can't do that yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could take time so that it could be on the regular agenda for next week.
Motion
Okay.
for time.
May I have a motion to
Motion
take
for
time? Is there a second to taking time?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Who seconded?
Lombardo.
Lombardo.
Oh, okay. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of taking time?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We're going to take time on this. So please, if you have questions or concerns, please get those to Tamika Rose, the president, or the mayor. Okay. Or Bishop Johnson. I'm not sure if Bishop want to take concerns yet, but please do that. Thank you very much. Here, there's no other item on the agenda. So may I have a motion to
So moved.
adjourn?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Our next committee meeting is the Rules Committee, and those committee members are Freeman, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Malik, and all of those members are present. So you can get started whenever you're ready, Mr. Freeman.
We'll give ourselves about 30 seconds. All right, I'd like to call the rules meeting to order. And Sarah, if you could do a roll call for us, please.
Sure. Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
All members are present.
Now we need a motion to hold this meeting without not being in keeping of our regular minutes and regular meetings. I need a second for that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, Sarah, we did have something on the old agenda, did we not?
We do, yes. Would you like me to read it in?
Could you please?
On the regular agenda, we have a resolution adopting amendments to rules of procedure for the Akron City Council and declaring an emergency.
Okay, as you all know, we're probably looking at having our meetings like this for, I would say, a few months to come. Yes, Madam President.
Oh, that's perfect. Chair, thank you so much. I just wanted to say, the reason we're putting forth again, this piece of legislation is that because of the pandemic, we've been operating, conducting business through special meetings. Conducting special meetings does put a lot of work on the council office. And so what we're proposing is that in light of the pandemic, that we can continue to handle council business, but go back to conducting business really as usual, just via Zoom. It's going to help the back office a little bit more, but I think it's also going to help council more. We'll be able to put items on consent agenda, giving council time to review items and then vote on items the following week. So I don't know if anyone else has any questions, but I just kind of wanted to add that.
Madam President, once we're through the pandemic, is it feasible that we could keep this in our rules just in those times that might come up that we couldn't meet in person, or are we looking at changing back then?
No, I think that you have a great suggestion. I think now that we have it in our rules, we have something in place in case we find ourselves down the road in a similar situation.
Okay, very good. So any comments from any committee members to begin with?
Mobian, Mr. Freeman.
Yes, Mr. Mobian.
I like your question. I'm just wondering if there's a possibility of having a hybrid kind of thing. If you can't get physically to a meeting, would we be allowing members to join in via Zoom? Because I think that would be a great help to some people, especially those of us who find ourselves on the road or, caught between meetings at work or whatever. I'd like for us to think about that as well.
Good thought. That probably is not going to come under this ordinance, but that is something we could look at in the event that I can even see the weeks when folks have to be out of town if an exception could be made. Good thought.
Sure. Yeah. Very good.
Any other comments from other members of council? Okay, I don't see any hands. If I do, please yell at me, Mr. Fusco.
Just I'd like to request suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 All right, excellent. Thanks for having that brought in. And that was all on old business, correct, Sarah? I sometimes have a hard.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we have two resolutions. And the first resolution is acknowledging the accomplishments and public service career of Congressman John Lewis, expressing condolences and sympathy to the family of Congressman Lewis on his passing and declaring an emergency. And wondering if the sponsor of this would like to speak, Ms. Samples.
Thank you, Councilman Freeman. Nothing really that we don't already know and haven't already addressed as it relates to Mr. Lewis. I did try to bring this in before we went on break, but it was just too much going on to try to get it in. So some time has passed since his death, but to make sure that we had something in the historical record coming from this body, I thought was very important for us to do. And I'm hoping that we all will be in support of this, and I'm hoping that we can pass it today.
Okay, thank you. Comments from committee members? Mr. Malik?
Thank you. Yes, I just, someone brought this up to me this morning, and I really appreciate Councilwoman Samples bringing this in. I know we all do. And what I was thinking of is how amazing it is, the changes in society that one lifetime can span. And when you look, obviously, at what John Lewis saw, from walking across the bridge to seeing the first African-American president, to seeing many other things, but also the persistent nature of these challenges, right? And so in a lot of ways, the challenges that were being faced in the 60s are the same challenges that we're facing today in different forms. And so, I think it gives us hope, but it also reminds us of the challenges we face.
Thank you. I'd agree with that. Probably is the definition of tenacity and just stick-to-itiveness. So, any other questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
Suspend the rules.
Okay, and a second.
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 All right, and then we have another resolution. This is honoring the life and achievements of meteorologist Dick Goddard, urging the city of Akron to formally recognize February 24th, 2021, and each February 24th thereafter as Dick Goddard Day and declaring an emergency. And again, I will defer to you, Ms. Samples.
Thank you, Councilman Freeman. Again, another piece of our history and legacy has passed while we were on break. Dick Goddard, who we all have grown up to watch on television. And I don't think I even knew what having your pets spayed or neutered meant until Dick Goddard. And I think just to be able to pay homage to him from our city, I think is just due. Many didn't know that he was born and grew up in Greensburg, which is now Greene, Ohio. And I think that is just phenomenal that such a great person and great man only lived just a stone's throw away from Akron. And I'm hoping that we all can support this piece. Thank you.
Mr. Freeman, you're muted.
Pardon me. Questions or comments? Okay, very good. Again, I'm looking for a motion for suspension of the rules on this resolution.
So move. Second.
Okay, I have a motion, a second. All in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll see that that passes this evening. And I do not believe that we have anything else coming before us, so we will adjourn at, what time is it? 3:06 p.m.
3:06.
Thank you.
Okay. Our last committee meeting for the day is Budget and Finance Committee. Those council members are Freeman, Amobian, Malik, Baylor, and Lombardo. And you can get started whenever you're ready, Councilman Freeman.
All right, we'll call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. If we could please have a roll call.
Freeman,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Baylor, I can see her. I think she may be muted.
It goes to mute automatically. Aye.
Thanks. Lombardo.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Okay, I also need a motion that we suspend our regular rules for this meeting.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and then need a motion to accept the minutes from our last meeting.
So
So
move.
move. Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We have 4 items before us. The first is an ordinance accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission of Summit County and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the Summit County Fiscal Officer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is our annual certification of our inside property tax millage. So once again, we are certifying 10.5 mils of tax to Summit County, which is the same that we've been doing for the past few years. So really, there's no change from last year. We're certifying the exact same thing.
Okay, very good. Questions or comments from committee members? Any questions from any other council members? I'm looking around here. Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Fricker. Looking for a motion to suspend the rules on this.
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we'll pass that out this evening. Next, we have a resolution requesting that the Summit County Fiscal Officer make an advanced payment of tax funds for the tax year 2020 payable in 2021 to the City of Akron Treasury Division and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a companion piece with the first piece, which is certifying our tax levy. This piece allows the county to advance us some of the collections that come in before the final tax bill settlement date. So as they collect tax, in the first month of the year, they're able to advance us that even before the final due date of the tax bills. So it just lets us get the money a little bit quicker. But we are required to pass this piece of legislation in order for them to advance us those funds.
Okay, and this would not take effect until January of 2021.
That is correct, yeah. But this is a similar piece. We do this every year. So it's something that the county requires all cities to do so they can advance us those funds.
Okay, very good. Questions, comments? Okay. Mr. Fricker, you want this on, would you like this on, like this passed out this evening or?
We would, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so just like the first piece, this kind of goes with it. So yeah, we would request passage.
Okay, very good. Looking for a
So
motion.
moved. So moved, Mr. Freeman.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, next, we have an ordinance authorizing the mayor, his designee, to enter into a contract or contracts with ServiceNow for the purchase of software in order to replace the current IT ticketing system and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm going to have Bill Fatica from our IT department present on this piece. This is for our help desk ticketing software.
Mr. Fatica.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Steve. Good afternoon, all council members. So ServiceNow is basically our ticketing system that we're using today. As users request help from the IT department, they enter a ticket into ServiceNow. Currently, we are still connected to Summit County. So basically, we're using their ServiceNow ticketing system. So what we'd like to do is get our own licensing so that we can run our own copy of ServiceNow here at the city of Akron. We want to do this so that we have a little bit more control of our system. Right now, we have to go through the county to make any changes, any reporting or that type of thing. And this is kind of the last thing that we have left over from Summit County. So we'd like to get our own copy of it so that we can make our own modifications, control our own reporting, and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Mr. Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Fatica. I guess, when I was looking at this, it jumped out at me a little bit because of the price tag, $137,000. I understand that we're separating our IT, components from Summit County, but is the having our own ability to make modifications is frankly really worth $137,000? I mean, it seems that there could be some kind of process set up that would allow for better communication or something like that, especially in this time of COVID when a lot of things are being cut. I guess I just, I wanted to, has that been considered? Have there been issues that have prevented that? What have been the harms to the city by not being able to make modifications?
Yeah, this cost is actually for 3 years. So it's only about maybe $42,000 per year. And the thing that we'd really like to do is grow the ServiceNow platform to, have our users be able to add tickets easily, through a cell phone, through email, stuff like that. We want to grow it more. We think it's very valuable to our users. We want to grow it more, but we're kind of limited to what the county will do for us.
And one other thing I think we found is that the county kind of structures their help desk process a little bit differently from ours. So, kind of as Bill mentioned, in order for us to kind of configure our process, our ticketing process, we kind of need to configure the software according to how the city of Akron works, as opposed to how the county set theirs up to work with their operation.
That's correct.
Were we sharing in the county's cost when they were using ServiceNow? Or were we sharing in the cost for their license?
We were paying a portion of it, yes.
You know what that was?
I'm thinking it was last year was probably right around 36,000 that we paid.
Okay, so 36,000 that you paid last year. Are we looking at a big cost difference then here when it comes to sharing versus having our own license?
Not really.
Not a huge difference.
About 7,000.
Right.
Something like that, 7,600.
Okay, so you're not really asking for new dollars here. You're saying, hey, we'd rather, give or take, $7,000 or so that you'd rather have some control and ownership here, but there has been a cost.
There has been, yes.
Okay, that makes because I kind of agreed with Councilman Malik too. It's like pretty heavy price ticket for this, but if we were already paying something and it's similar cost, it makes a bit more sense. Any other questions or comments from any members?
Yeah,
of
just
council? Okay, I'll come to you, Mr. Malik. Let me go to Ms. Amobian first.
Did you recognize me, sir? I
Yes.
couldn't hear. Yeah. Could how much a year? The ticketing part?
How much was it a year?
How much do we benefit? How much do we earn from this? This is how people pay their ticket to go into the park index and stuff. Is that what we're talking about?
No. Yeah. So this
No,
is
what are we
what this
talking about?
is when we have computer related issues within the city. So if someone has a hardware problem or a software problem that they need the IT department to address, basically instead of calling them up on the phone, there is a computer-based system where they can enter a ticket, and then that can be tracked by our IT department can assign someone to respond to that request and then also track the request to make sure that it's being completed.
Okay.
So it's kind of the tracking of fixing our IT related problems.
Oh, thank you very much. You see how naive I am about it. Thank you.
If I may make one other comment. My name is Engelbert Gull, one of the managers. Summit County essentially also let us know about the mandate of getting off of their platform. So even if we restructured something or wanted to stay on their system, they may not allow that. So this was kind of a project that we were told to start on.
Oh, that's a strong emphasis. Yeah. Any?
But I just want to say it serves a twofold benefit for the city. I mean, like he said, they would be able to target like problems that the IT department is having when they, review the tickets that have gone out for service and how all that entire operation performs. So it's kind of like a catch-22, like accountability system without calling it that.
That's correct.
Exactly. And ServiceNow is considered, it's very well regarded kind of in this arena. It's one of the more widely used, IT, problem tracking softwares that is out there.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Malik.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Berger and Mr. Padiga, for the clarification. I think that does significantly alleviate my concerns. Just to clarify, we wouldn't be making contributions to Summit County regarding any IT costs in 2021 or going forward then?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Fusco.
Thank you, Chair. Question relative to Mr. Malik's. Can we expect anything else to come forward relative to our relationship with Summit County that has been obviously changed significantly? Is there anything else that we should expect that we're going to have to purchase or buy or do relative to that breakup?
I mean, I think this is the last piece, I think.
Is it?
Yep.
Good. And this doesn't, and I think I already know the answer to this one, but this doesn't affect obviously the administrative as well as the legislative will rely on the system, but will the judicial? The courts, will the courts rely?
The courts use this as well. Is that correct, Bill?
They do, and we'd like for them to use it a little bit more. Yes.
Okay, so we're paying for this. Do they contribute to this at all through their? I know they have a collection. Portion of the collection that they make is for IT specific.
Yeah, they do, because basically all of the city departments are billed quarterly for we have what's called an IT service charge that we bill all departments based on their number of full-time employees. And that basically reimburses our IT internal service fund for the contracts and the employees that work there. So yes, the courts contribute to that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Probably looking then for a motion to suspend the rules. When does this come up? Is this end of the year item or?
It's something that's coming up this month.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 And let's see, finally, we have one last item. This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with OPTIV for the purchase of hardware and software to upgrade city firewalls and declaring an emergency.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm going to have Engelbert Gal, who is our IT infrastructure and systems manager, explain this. This is related to our city, our security firewall that we have on our city network.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to present in front of you. Today, we currently have a checkpoint firewall. Unfortunately, it's undersized due to COVID and other work from home initiatives. We found out that we were limited in terms of how many workers could work remotely, and that number was 35. And the other thing is that we were unable to do deep inspection. That's kind of one of the larger threats today. And one of our biggest problems that we have at the city, as well as any government or business, has their number one targeted attack is phishing, which is basically malicious links and emails. And we're unable to really perform that deep inspection at that level. And we have a contract that is coming due on November 15th, and I'd be asking for you to suspend your rules and make this an emergency. And that contract is normally $86,159 per year. And at this point in time, we did a lot of research on the problems, trying to keep things functional, people work from home. And we found another alternative, which is actually Palo Alto. They're actually highly regarded and arguably the number one firewall provider. In their offering to us, we are not only looking at better services, but also hardware as well, at a total cost of $246,044. And compared to the checkpoint yearly renewals, that's a savings of $184,000. In addition to that, as you have heard through some of the CARES money, through the county, city, jail project for courts, we are adding on additionally another pair of firewalls that we're looking at for 5 years of $44,489. So those are the items that are currently on your docket. And if we can suspend the rules, because we're trying to get ahead of that contract renewal date of November 15th, we'd have a bit of work ahead of us to implement that solution. Thank you.
So I do understand this, the need for firewall. So I do understand that piece. Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the part of this contract that talks about the county and city jail part, do we currently provide, what does this do for us, sir? Could you address that piece?
Sure, not a problem. So as part of the CJIT project, they're trying to come up with a high-speed transport network for Barberton, Stowe, the jail, and all these entities that are not ourselves. And what we're saying is that, realistically speaking, what we needed to do is protect ourselves from potentially any malicious activity. May have not been necessarily Barberton's fault, for example, but maybe something malicious that could have originated that and was targeted for us. What we're looking for is hardware that we would go in place as we're kind of creating this video extranet or this video system, and simply provide protection to ourselves. If we did not do that, we would be susceptible or vulnerable to not only threats from the internet, but also from other municipalities and things like that. So this is one of those parts where we're just protecting the city of Akron from what we would think would be friendly municipalities and agencies. Did that answer your question?
Essentially, anything that would be coming through emails or any kind of communication with those entities could have some malicious activity with it. It protects us from that. Yeah, I understand.
Correct.
Mr. Malik?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to follow up on that, are the other partners in that project also contributing to this, or are they purchasing similar firewalls? Do we know?
Sure. I did ask about what plans were for Barberton and other agencies, and right now the Fairlawn Gig that's in charge of this project, they're ensuring that they have a robust network and they are able to execute and disperse funding before the end of the year. That being said, their objective is not to be a prescription for security. I think that it was told to me that some of the other governments and agencies involved in this, that security wasn't necessarily at the forethought of what they're thinking about. This is not going to be something that's covered by the project, but having been through the security breach of our past.
Grass time. Oh. Mm-hmm.
Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, it did, and I do appreciate the conscientiousness. I know that we have experienced significant problems, and I know that we want to avoid that, and do appreciate everyone's hard work in that regard. So thank you.
Yeah, I do have, since you guys mentioned the emails, I did have one other slide where, the war that we're waging today is really emails and phishing attacks. Before you get a bad email, you click on the link, next thing you know, you are compromised. Essentially, half of our traffic now is malicious in some way or considered junk mail. What we want to do is make sure that we protect our users so they can focus on the work and their tasks at hand rather than being worried about if they clicked on a bad link or whatnot. So thank you.
Questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we pass this legislation with suspension of the rules.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I had one question, Mr. Gall. You said there was 35 VPN users before that were protected.
Yeah, our licenses only covered 35 users. So what happened is that when we had to quickly transition to off-site employees, allowing them to continue to work, we were able to extend temporary licenses. However, now that we're kind of at the end of it, we'd really have to go and purchase that. And when really weighing not only the ongoing costs of that firewall service, the needs to upgrade the hardware, as well as to cover the additional, work from home users, which is over 200 per day. That was one of the considerations when we, kind of opened up this project and considered our alternatives. So in the past, we're licensed for 35 people at a time. Now we'd have a limited, and thank you very much for your support on that. And I hope that answered your question, Mr. Freeman.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So how many years, because before we'll be coming back and looking for another product that it seems like we can't hardly keep up. I mean, I appreciate what's happening here, but
Yep. Hopefully 5 years.
okay. Okay, I believe we passed that out, and we will take care of that this evening. And we have nothing else to come before us. We will adjourn. Thanks to each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.